everyone, and welcome back to the Ocean Impact Podcast. We are so thrilled to bring you another episode today. My name is Amelia Helt, and I'll be one of your co-hosts for today. But as always, I am joined by my fabulous co-host, Tim Silverwood. Hey Tim, how you going?
Doing really well, Amelia, and thank you everyone for tuning in for another fantastic episode.
This one is going to be so good. We have Avril Greenaway, the co-founder and impact director for Cleaner Seas Group, and they were the winner of our Ocean Impact Pitchfest 2023, along with the $50,000 cash prize and all of the bragging rights that go with being the winners. And you know what? Avril is a designer by trade, and that's my background too, so I absolutely love her story. She's always fantastic to have a chat with, and she'll dive more into that backstory in this episode, and obviously the backstory of Cleaner Seas as well. It's a really fascinating one, isn't it, Tim?
It really is, and I speak in this episode about some of the parallels, I guess, with my story as an environmentalist too. The backstory is that Cleaner Seas really started out as a charity, as a non-profit organisation in their little corner of the UK. And at some point on that journey, they realised the incredible power and importance of building a commercial venture to tackle these great problems. And that has led to this formation of Cleaner Seas Group and this amazing hardware that is tackling one of the most insidious problems facing the planet. We're talking about microplastics and microfibres. So I just love it because I would love to imagine that there's a lot of other founders out there and environmentalists who have been championing the grassroots nonprofit approach, which is fully commendable, and I love it. OIO is a nonprofit, but really seeing the potential of building a scalable business solution, because you can't be just against business. You've got to be with business and using the power of business to transform the way we treat planet Ocean. So you can see why I love these guys so much.
I can feel the stoke through the microphone, Tim. Honestly, this is really the wheelhouse of what we do at OIO, which is, really recognizing the importance of scalable solutions, profit for purpose businesses that are, addressing these issues, but bringing us the solutions that we need to really make a dent in them. And when it comes to the insidious nature of microfibres and microplastics, from doing a load of washing, around 700,000 microfibres can be released every time you do a load of washing. And that number, every time I hear it, just blows my mind, honestly. It really gives you an idea for how serious this problem is. And one of the best ways to address that is right at the source. It's when you go to do that load of washing, not trying to address it later downstream. And so Cleaner Seas Group have developed an awesome microfiber filter, and it's really cool because it's inspired by the way that film loads into a camera. Tim, can you tell us a little bit more about their solution?
Yeah, just fascinating. Obviously, as you've identified, a huge source of these microfibers that ultimately end up in the ocean or end up being dumped on agricultural land, sometimes in the form of sewage sludge, is coming from those washing machines and that simple process of washing your clothes. So that realization that, instead of all that waste water just directly leaving the washing machine and going into the sewage system, there has to be that simple way of filtering it out. And again, I just love that it comes down to the bold, big thinkers and crazy innovators to say, oh, you know what? We'll build the filtration system and we'll make it available for any washing machine that you can just plug and play it directly in. Anyone can do that right now, and you can start to filter out your microfiber pollution and doing your part. But there's so much more to the solution that Cleaner Seas Group have established. You can actually return the cartridges once they've been utilized over, there's a certain number of washes, a little LED light will come on. That's your trigger to return it. They'll repurpose the microfibers and actually find a use for them. And then you can plug your new cartridge back in again. So they've really thought about everything. I love the story that Avril shares around the technical origins of the design. They actually got someone in their team who was designing some of the models for Star Wars. So they've got it's an amazing community of people that all originate in this beautiful part of Cornwall in the UK, and they're tackling this problem on a global scale, and I just love that.
100%. I mean, honestly, this team really is so connected with the ocean because Cornwall's right there. You know, they are surfers and I think divers and all sorts.
And Avril's a big rower. She's a really
Yeah,
fanatic rower. Mm.
there you go, a rower as well. I mean, because that's that part of the coastline. It is so so beautiful, but they're also in really a hotspot for where you see the impacts of the problem as well. But they're just so immersed in it being real ocean people, ocean dwellers.
Yeah, we hear a lot about the stories of how this little part of Cornwall Bude has really punched above its weight in terms of some of the other projects that have emerged from that community. So, I mean, I haven't visited, but I would love to go to this part of the world because I think I'd find a lot of like-minded souls in this part of the corner of the world.
Absolutely. It's the same for me, Tim. And, we got to spend some time with Avril and Dave, the co-founders, and when they were here in Sydney for our big innovation event last year. And the connection between our team and theirs was absolutely real. There's definitely just so much that we have in common, which is funny because we're coming from like opposite parts of the world. But it's always great. So I am the same. I've never been to Cornwall. I'd love to visit, especially their little part of it. And you know what? There's not many startups in this game that can say that they've gotten their, support and take up in their solution from places like local hotels and other local businesses in Cornwall, from a European cruise line, and from a massively world famous, world touring band in the form of Coldplay. So Coldplay actually fit the filters to their Music of the Spheres tour washing machines as part of its efforts to reduce its tour's carbon footprint. And that's pretty cool, isn't it, Tim?
It really is. And I think, good people and good support follows brilliant ideas and wonderful humans like we see with Cleaner Seas Group. So, yeah, really amazing. And those recent results that Coldplay celebrated with how they're actually ahead of their targets for reducing the impact of their touring of the planet is just so admirable. And a solution like the Cleaner Seas Group filtration systems, it helps them get there. So, how cool.
So, so awesome. And the example I mentioned of the cruise line was actually their commercial version of their solution is being used in the laundry rooms there on board this particular cruise liner. So, another area where it's so, so important to have this solution in place and to, deal with, like, this is a high load example, right? Where the solution is able to be utilized. So whether you need one for your home or need one on a bigger scale, they've got the solution for you. And I just love that they've had such kind of support. Particularly, it's always heartwarming to hear like the local businesses really adopting the solutions and throwing their support behind it, all the way through to a massive world famous band. That's pretty cool. So I think people are going to really, really enjoy this episode with Avril. Tim, is there any other final words you'd love to leave people with before they jump into this one?
Just to send a big thanks and appreciation for Avril for this episode. It was very cold early morning for Avril tuning in from Bude in Cornwall, and I think it was quite a warm afternoon evening for me here in Australia. So it was just her alone in the office, and I really enjoyed the conversation, and I'm sure you will too.
Thanks, everyone.
I am so excited to have on the Ocean Impact podcast today the winner of the Ocean Impact Pitchfest 2023 Cleaner Seas project. We've got Avril Greenaway, who is the co-founder and the impact director. How are you, Avril?
I'm good, thank you, Tim. How are you? It's good to see your face.
It really is so lovely to see you. Just remembering how much of a great time we had when you and Dave came to Sydney all the way to get the big announcement live on stage at INNOVOCEAN that you were the winner of the Ocean Impact Pitchfest 2023. What a special time.
It really was. I mean, my first time in Australia and I was completely blown away. Sydney's so beautiful, and to be welcomed by the Ocean Impact family, was just incredible. It was so cool, and to learn more about what you guys are doing, it's just fantastic. It was so cool, and to have a little reminder this week as well, seeing your the accelerator program going out and seeing the great new video you created, and we're in it. It was so cool. That was so cool to see.
That's right. Yeah, we're recording this episode at the end of March in 2024. And yeah, we just announced the call for applications for the next Ocean Impact Accelerator Program cohort. And our little sizzle video has some really special moments featuring the Cleaner Seas group family when you came down here to Australia. And yeah, we so love that you guys came over, and just so many highlight moments of seeing you, and you were glowing. It really was a special moment for you guys.
It was. I mean, we've had lots of game-changing moments at Cleaner Seas Group, and winning Pitchfest was right up there, right at the very top of those game-changing moments. And we were glowing, and we were just completely over the moon. You know, it's an international award, 200 applicants, I think. Is that correct? So incredible. Just incredible. And in such a beautiful setting as well, surrounded by water, which is what it's all about. So it's a really great place to be talking about the issues and seeing all these incredible solutions and startups that you're helping as well. Just so cool.
Yeah, no, it's a huge challenge to not only make it as one of the 12 finalists of Pitchfest, because we do get so many strong applications from all around the world, but then realizing that once we have that final batch, that they go through some pretty rigorous processes with the judging panel, who really interrogate all that data that is submitted during the process. So to be recognized as the overall winner of Pitchfest is huge. You really do join a pretty special cohort of startups that we've been working with over the last 4 years, and we couldn't be happier to have you in that family.
Oh, thank you. And we kind of feel a part of your team now. I think that's just an ongoing relationship that we'll have forever. And we really appreciate everything that you supported us with, and I think that introduction to your community, to investors, which is, part of the deal when you come out, just all those things are game changing and so supportive. And it's exactly what a startup needs. It's just sort of building that team around you. So, just fantastic on every level.
Right. Well, let's get stuck into it. We've got some time today to answer some questions to really give our listeners a chance to understand you and understand the startup that you are a part of, and really understand how this is actually contributing to improving the health of the ocean. So I might hand it over to you for this first question, which is really around, what is the solution that you've developed to the ocean challenge that you've identified?
Yes, I think if it's okay, can I sort of go straight to the problem, then I can talk about the solution?
Please.
So the problem that we're actually tackling is microfiber pollution. Microfiber pollution is a major pollutant. It's a very tiny thing, but it's a massive problem for our planet. Approximately 13 million tons of synthetic fibers or synthetic waste is entering our ocean each year. Basically, microfibers are shed from our clothes. When you wash your clothes, 700,000 microfibers go into the wastewater system. That's approximately 91 million per household per year from your laundry. And they're difficult to capture. They're not being meaningfully caught. And that's because of their tiny size. It's because they're very long and thin. If you think about the fibers in your clothes, they're, just very tiny, very long. And that causes lots of problems. There is a certain amount that are caught at water treatment works, but they end up in sludge, which gets spread on the fields for fertilizer. Those microfibers that are in that sludge are going into the soil. They're then getting washed into the rivers with the rain and into our seas, into our ocean. The microfibers that aren't caught are just going straight out into the water system. So however you look at it, and it's very unlikely, it's a very expensive operation to upgrade water treatment works. It's unlikely to happen for a long time. So really the most effective way that you can capture those microfibers is in the laundry setting. So, on our home washing machines in commercial settings. The pollution that they're causing, is massive. They're in our oceans. Our oceans are vital to life on Earth. 50 to 80% of the oxygen we breathe is made in the ocean. And microfibers are in our water cycle. So, from evaporation through the raindrops that fall on our heads, they are part of that system now, and we need to remove them. We're seeing adverse effects on marine life in the ocean, zooplankton and phytoplankton. So zooplankton at the bottom of the food chain are ingesting microfibres. Phytoplankton, who they're the microscopic plants, if you like, they're being smothered by microfibres. And microfibres attract toxins. They're like little life rafts, if you like, that toxins cling to. So they're not only being smothered, but they're being poisoned. Now, they need to photosynthesize. They need to absorb carbon dioxide and produce oxygen. And, it's stopping them doing that, which is obviously a massive problem. So, it's affecting the health of our ocean, and ocean health is human health. It's vital for us. And we're also starting to see research catch up, really with what we've probably long suspected. So, we've always believed that microfibres in our, we know that's in the water we drink, the food we eat, the air we breathe. That can't be a good thing. And research science is really just starting to catch up with that. And we know that microplastics could affect human health. And in the last few years, studies have shown that microplastics are in our bloodstream, they're in our heart, they're in our lungs. And just recently, there's a new study that's been done which shows they increase the risk of heart attack and stroke. That's all really alarming. And we just have to do everything we can to stop that microfiber pollution from happening. So the most effective way, like as I said, that we can tackle this problem is to capture microfibers in that laundry setting. And Cleaner Seas Group, we've made it our mission to protect the ocean, to protect the planet by developing innovative solutions to remove microplastics from the environment. So specifically in this case, we developed tech to remove microfibers from laundry in a closed loop system. We've developed technology across 3 pillars. So domestic, so retrofit filter, which I don't know if you can see behind me, which you can fit to any domestic washing machine. It's easy plug and play. We've got a commercial filter for all commercial settings, so commercial laundries to cruise ships, to we've got harbours that have installed them in their amenity centres. We've got Falmouth Harbour here in Cornwall have fitted one in their amenity centre, which is super cool. And we also have an integrated version, which we're talking to white goods companies, working with white goods companies so that they can integrate our solution into their new washing machines. And that's super exciting. That's where we want to be. Every new washing machine is fitted with a Cleaner Seas microfiber filter. That's where we want to be. But obviously there's millions of washing machines out there that need a filter now, because every time you're washing your clothes, this pollution is happening. So all the filters across those pillars use the same closed loop tech. We support circular economy, and it's important for us to, it was very important for us to develop a solution that not only removed the microfibers, but sees them removed and reused and absolutely prevented from ending up in, we didn't want them going into landfill and, definitely not being, washed down the sink. So, for us, that just can't happen. So we do that. We have a returnable cartridge system, one of these.
Very cool. Thanks for the demo. Yeah.
Very cool. Made from recycled plastic. If you can see that. So the cartridge is actually based on an old camera film, and it winds the filter medium on. It lasts approximately 6 months, depending on how heavy your washes and how many washes you do. But on average, about 6 months. So you don't have to change it all the time. It lasts a really good length of time, which makes it nice and easy to use. Yes, it's made from recycled plastic, and these get sent back to us after 6 months. We recycle the microfibers and we refurbish the cartridge, and then those cartridges can be used again. So that's that closed loop part, making sure we remove the microfibers and keep those cartridges in use for as long as we possibly can. The actual unit itself, so the retrofit indie units are made from recycled plastic. actually made from old recycled washing machine plastic.
That is so cool.
They are repairable and they're recyclable. It is really cool, isn't it? I mean, that's quite exciting when you can make things happen like that, because it's challenging. I think, thinking about always doing the right thing is challenging. And it's quite often, it's expensive, and certainly like for the operations team, for the engineers, I guess from our point of view, when we're here saying this is what it needs to do, and it has to be this, and it has to be closed loop, it has to be made from recycled plastic, they've then got to go and make that happen. And they have all sorts of, challenges around that. Will it be strong enough? Will it be robust enough? How much more cost does that put on the end price of the unit? Because we want it to be affordable. So it's hugely challenging. The cardboard box that it comes in is everything's cardboard. There's no plastic in it. Again, when it was manufactured, they want to put it in plastic to protect it. So we had to find something else that we could put around it to protect it while it's being shipped. So we've got like tissue paper. So just making sure that everything we use is biodegradable or reusable or recyclable, and just the best solution. But that can be challenging, but it's also really rewarding when you make it happen.
Well, I think just the fact that you've got such integrity in the people that have been there since day one, that I'd imagine that even though some of those things, those demands you're putting on the production team might be high, there's kind of like sorry, it's kind of the only way. We are seriously operating here with integrity. So I'm imagining that those fundamentals are critical.
100%, integrity and that authenticity. And we can't ask people to join our mission if we're not doing that right across the board. So yeah, it has to happen. It's a no-brainer.
So just recapping for people tuning in here, because people might be watching or listening to this in their daily commute or out for a walk, so not watching the video, but you've got your wonderful units behind you, your indie retrofit systems. People can obviously go online and check those out. They're super cool, and get a little demo of those incredible cartridge technology that you've created. And of course, check out the pitch video that you submitted to the Ocean Impact Pitchfest, because it was such a creative way to share your innovation with the world in a really, really captivating approach. I'd love to go back a little bit more into the story of the people and of yourself, because the origin story around Cleaner Seas Group sort of starts quite some time back, doesn't it? It starts with passionate people responding to the problems that they were seeing with coastal waterways. Maybe just take us a little bit back into the archives and tell us how this remarkable technology that you've created and are pioneering came to life.
Yeah, thank you. That takes us back to our why, I suppose. So both Dave and I worked on a not-for-profit called Cleaner Seas Project. I still run that. And Cleaner Seas Project was concerned with water quality, so campaigning for water quality, raising awareness, educating. So we were talking about water pollution and specifically microplastics. And sort of from that, Dave challenged our co-founder and chief tech officer James to invent something to remove microplastics from the environment. James, we want you to invent a microfiber filter. And James was like, okay, because James is a serial inventor. And he's like, I'll go and do that. I think the only thing we have with James, we can't, if we said to James, can you go and do this? He'd say, yeah, I can do that. So we're very careful only to give him one problem at a time. Otherwise, we'll take him off task. So we have to keep him focused on what he's doing, because he's so brilliant. So he went off, very quickly came back with his solution, which was the cartridge system, and Cleaner Seas Group was born from that.
Brilliant. And tell us a little bit more around the actual community that you are a part of, because that to me sounds like back to the authenticity and the integrity. I haven't been to Bude, but it sounds really special, and there were some really key moments where I guess the community came together and other external influences came to spur the community on to really become serious leaders in not just tackling the problems locally, but ultimately creating solutions that could have global impact?
Yeah, I think that's really true. And Bude is really special. There's some really great initiatives that have actually started in Bude. Refill was born in Bude. Martin Dorey, 2 Minute Beach Clean, who a lot of people will know, I'm sure, was born in Bude. And we're very lucky to be a part of that community who really care. We live right by the ocean. Sea level rise is a threat to our community. And we see pollution firsthand. We see it washing up on the beaches. We see the macroplastics. We see the microplastics. And in Bude's quite unique because we're kind of 50 miles away from any like train stations, hospitals, any kind of big services. And that makes us quite close as a community. And I think that's probably to our advantage in a lot of ways. In 2016, we organised a wave conference in Bude, which pulled together, we had 16 speakers talking about climate change, talking about marine pollution, environmental pollution, talking about the economy and health of our community. We just had awesome speakers from Professor Richard Thompson, who, coined the phrase microplastics, to Amanda Winwood, who was talking about microbeads in our, in our products, in our face products and our cleaning products, which, by the way, they still are in a lot of products. In the UK, they've been banned. I think in Australia as well, from rinse-off products. In Europe, from quite a few countries, but they haven't been banned in cleaning products and leave-on products and in sun cream, things like that. There's microplastics, nanoplastics, and products we have no clue about. So the Wave conference was actually, we'd organised it, invited 100 delegates who could influence their, I guess their sphere of influence, and it created these massive, wonderful ripples. So not just in our community, but nationally, globally, which is just super cool. And the people that were part of that have come on our journey with us. They've been super supportive. So we've worked with Professor Richard Thompson at Plymouth University. They verified our tech at the beginning of our journey. We've worked with Adam Hall, who is such a brilliant educator. He's so knowledgeable about sustainability, his career in sustainability, his reputation goes before him, and he's supported us and helped us along the way. And those times when you have little challenges about packaging or little bumps in the road, we can draw support from those people who feels like a part of our external team, really. And likewise, it's a two-way street that we support what they do too. And I think that's just such an important point to make, really, that collaboration is everything. We're all part of the problem. We all need to be part of the solution, and we have to collaborate. It's so key to actually just to trying to get somewhere near solving not just the microfiber problem, but all the issues that are threatening the ocean and our planet.
Was there something as well, during that time and that experience with the Wave conference where you got to interact with entrepreneurs that were really, they were influenced by impact in their business models? Because, the really interesting story here, the one that fascinates me so much about Cleaner Seas Group, is that origin story where, the community got together and, you committed your skills and your passions to build this non-profit organisation, which continues to this day and does great work. But, whether it was some influence through those inspirational impact-driven businesses, or whether it was simply James's remarkable solution that the only way it could get to scale was to be commercial, like, where did the sort of fork in the road occur in realising that, we're actually going to potentially make a much bigger impact than we ever would have with this non-profit approach by building an impact-driven business i.e. Cleaner Seas Group. I wonder if you wouldn't mind speaking to that a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's probably a bit of a melting pot of a lot of those things. And there were people that, say, spoke at the Wave Conference or that we knew. So Adam at the time was heading up sustainability at Surfdome, massive online retailer. So that was incredibly inspirational. We had John Koo, who also at the time was sustainability at Interface Carpets. He was talking about the triple bottom line, and that certainly had a big effect on us, and just really understanding what that meant and how business can be better, purpose-driven businesses, doing good for the planet, and it's okay, you can be profitable too. And actually that is probably the best way we can achieve this. So I think it's a little bit of all those things. Once David, it sort of cast that seed with James, and James came back and said, okay, I've done it, I've made the solution. Then it was a case of pulling the people together who had the skills, I guess, to form a company. So, sort of, I guess, to cover finance, engineering, tech, marketing from my perspective, science and the environment from Dave's perspective. Obviously, I had an big environmental lean as well as being marketing and design. And yeah, it's kind of like a little melting pot of all those things. And really the only way you can make that happen is to create a business, to be able to scale it, to really make the difference that we wanted to make. It has to be an investable business that you can grow and scale. So that's how it happened. I think we've learned an awful lot along the way. We didn't have all the answers at that point. We just knew we had a goal. We had a goal of what we wanted to achieve, and we set off to do it. But of course, we incorporated in 2018, and very close at the end of 2018. So very quickly we found ourselves running into COVID in 2020, which was a bit of a challenge.
Yes, it was a challenge for many of us. Yeah, but it does teach you how to, be lean, be resilient, all these characteristics that can become quite valuable in the longer game. Hey, I realise, Avril, that we've sort of skipped a little bit over the real story of you a bit too, because you obviously just mentioned then, your skills coming in as a designer. We've got to learn a little bit more about you personally and, the skills that you bring to the table. But yeah, I really would love a little bit more of a glimpse into your career stepping stones that I guess made you the right person at the right time for Cleaner Seas Project and Cleaner Seas Group.
Such an interesting question as well, I think, because I wouldn't have imagined that I would be doing this. So if you'd said 20 years ago that I'd be doing what I'm doing now, I would have been probably very, very surprised, although I was connected to nature and interested in the environment. My background is I was a secretary when I left college and retrained as a designer. And I worked in marketing and design, working for blue chip companies in London and Bath, which I loved. Moved back to Cornwall when I had children. So I really wanted to bring the children up near the ocean. And that led me to start a freelance business. So I was working very broadly in marketing design. So I'd worked for blue chip companies down to SMEs. Working in Cornwall, it was much smaller businesses. But I also then got involved in doing some work with a newly founded project, which is the Clean Seas Project. And I was already beach cleaning, so I knew about the problem. It's quite interesting because I think though I knew about the problem, you suddenly start to learn how massive the problem is. And I had to upskill pretty quickly. So my job is communication, really, fundamentally. And my job was to engage the community, to talk about the problem. And so I needed to find ways to communicate that, but not only to communicate that, but to communicate it very factually. You can't be talking about those issues and not get the facts right. So it was a massive learning journey for me. So part of my upskilling was learning more about the science and the research, policies, governmental policies, so many things that started to really, I guess, open my mind, push me forward on my journey and really understanding what a massive problem it is, what the health implications were. I remember reading one thing and it blew my mind and particularly bearing in mind what I've just been talking about in terms of our health, and they've just discovered microplastics in our blood. I found a paper, which I did talk about, however many years ago this was, 8 years ago. And a scientist had found microplastic in the bloodstream of a mussel, a shellfish. I think that was 2008. How long ago was that? How can that be discovered then? And we're only now seeing science and research catch up with that, So we've known, people have known, and I think that just, I find it incredible, absolutely incredible. And what I feel now is a sense of urgency. Look how long it's taken us to get to this point. We need to tackle it. So so that was I guess where my journey into environmentalism started, and it grew. And by the time we held the Wave conference, I was picking up microplastics on the beach regularly. Another way that I communicated that problem, to connect the problem with the source, was to make microplastic art. That's also sort of gone off in other directions, but that seemed to me to be a problem that people at that time, so sort of 2015, 2016, we weren't really talking about microplastics in any big way. And then 2016, we had the Wave conference, where we had these really incredible inspirational speakers who were talking about microplastics and nanoplastics. And I guess for any listeners who might not know this, but plastic never, it just keeps degrading into smaller and smaller bits. It never disappears. So it will just become tiny, 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 tiny. In the samples I pick up from our local beaches, just with the naked eye, you can see pieces that the size of a grain of sand. And we know that it will keep degrading, becoming smaller than that, until it is easily absorbed into our bloodstream. Now, that's why it's really important to stop it from getting into our ocean in the first place and into our waterways. So I've probably digressed slightly, but that's kind of my journey, how I found my way to being incredibly passionate about it. I think once you learn about it, once you learn about the problem and what's happening, you just feel completely compelled to do something about it.
Not to mention, and you've touched on it a number of times there, but what it's like to be, part of a community, and I'm a part of that same community, right? We all come from that same sort of generational line of people whose eyes were opened up to the perils of plastic. And in my case, I did refer to myself as a bit of an accidental activist, right? I didn't have this in my cards weren't written that I was going on to become a plastic pollution campaigner and activist. But once you're in, and once it's impossible to not keep following that path, because it just feels so important. So, it's just so awesome, again, that whatever that starting point of your journey was and is for those listening, each step you take can just have wonderful, unexpected consequences, to the point where you've had all your experiences in other careers and building and leading a nonprofit, and now you're a co-founder and impact director of a really exciting emerging commercial startup. But that's where we can maybe just take that conversation a little bit further now, because that is where you're at, and you've got a very exciting future. But of course, there's challenges along the way. So let's spend a little bit of time talking about some of those key achievements in the, however many years it is now that you've been building Cleaner Seas Group. Must be getting up to about 5 or 6 years. Some of those great achievements, but also some of those challenges that you've already faced and maybe are continually on the horizon as you try and get these incredible systems out there in the real world, making the impact that is capable of them.
Yeah, so I think you mentioned it earlier that challenges make you resilient, and challenges also present you with opportunities. So I think that's how we tackle it. We believe everything's possible, and that's we drive forward with that in our minds. COVID was a big one. I already mentioned that we had that at the very beginning of our journey, and obviously that there was the bigger picture, which was devastating for many people, loss of life and all the terrible things that were happening. From a business perspective, for a startup perspective, we were pulling together supply chains. We were going to a Kickstarter. There were lots of things that it sort of stopped, it prevented. Supply chains were just all over the place. Parts became incredibly expensive, or you couldn't get hold of them. And we were doing a lot of research, research and development work. So that was massively challenging. But again, it does present huge opportunities. And like I've also mentioned, James, our CTO, is very resilient, very inventive. And, where there's a problem, James will always find a solution and a way around it. So, we got through that. Again, you have this goal in mind, so you just keep pushing ahead. But I think also, I think we probably all found in that time that we all had a lot of time to reflect, a lot of time to connect with nature, and connect with each other. It was a great time to do research. So it was absolutely excellent time for us to be able to connect with people who are doing great work in France in legislation, and really take time out to be able to connect with this sort of wider team of people who had the same goal as us. So I think those were the really sort of positive things that came out of that. Recycling solutions, finding we're going to be closed loop, but what are the recycling solutions? How do we do that? How do we set up the logistics? We've got absolutely awesome guy called Jez, who's our operations manager, and Graham, our operations director, and they, Graham's our commercial director, but they work together and have done some just brilliant sterling work on logistics and pulling all those things together for us. So, the solutions or challenges are just there to present opportunities, I think. And with the recycling solutions, recycling's not in a great way, but there are a lot of great things happening. So some really innovative things happening across the world. It's really, really exciting to see. So we currently partner with recycling specialists and to turn the waste into like low grade materials. I have got a bit of an exclusive from you. So this is something that's come from a challenge. We're commissioning our own sort of microfibre recycling reactor. Dave's known for it. So Dave's been doing some really incredible work on this, and it will be located here in Bude in Cornwall, and we'll be recycling microfibres into all sorts of different things. So news coming soon. Very exciting, very innovative and groundbreaking stuff heading this way. Can't go into too much detail, but that's an exclusive for you today, Tim. So that's another brilliant opportunity, another brilliant solution that's come out of this massive challenge of how do we recycle, which, it's those challenges are there to make us resilient.
What is that? It might be even a good little sort of segue just to sort of talk about competitors in the space. Obviously, we started the conversation today with some really good baseline knowledge on how insidious the problem is and why we really need to move fast to do something about it. We live in a cloud of micro and nanoplastics, and we need solutions on all fronts. We need it for car tires, we need it for paint, we need it for clothes and textiles. Now, the washing of garments, which is obviously a practice which takes place all around the world, and everyone suffers the same consequences in terms of its pathway to the ocean or to agriculture. Yeah, what is the competitive landscape like when it comes to people in the space? We've obviously seen a couple through various OIO initiatives in recent years who've similarly tackled the home washing machine or commercial settings. What's it sort of like in terms of that mini ecosystem, I suppose, of similar startups solving similar problems and how they all work side by side? Because I'm guessing there must be so much opportunity that competition isn't really direct competition. It's like, hey, if we all rise up an inch, then we all benefit a mile, right? Am I right there?
100%. And really, I think, and the competitors you're talking about, we're stakeholders in the APPG for microplastics. That's an all-party parliamentary group for microplastics. We're all stakeholders together trying to push forward legislation around microfibres. So, we all have a common goal. That's really important to remember. I think you've got to remember why we're doing this. And you're absolutely right. We can't really have too many people doing it. And this is an emerging market. We don't have, there wasn't an existing market for us to find our way into. We are creating it. And I think you can't do that with one business. You can't do that as one company. So it's great that we're all doing it, that we've all got that goal. And also, in terms of what we can learn from each other, I suppose, and also it's the more the merrier. It's the more the merrier. And like I say, we know, like the Matter guys, I know Rob quite well. We'll catch up sometimes and, talk about where we are. And I think we appreciate, again, talking about challenges, we appreciate the challenges that each other have because we've all experienced them. So, we have probably a very similar mindset.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember that, the catalyst for that was, thinking about your canister model and how closed loop it is. And I suppose one of the perils of competition is if suddenly a country passes a law that says, hey, everybody needs to go and have a retrofitted filtration device, then some opportunistic person is going to come out there with some cheap rip-off or something which does part the job, but maybe creates a bigger problem because the messaging is, hey, just brush it off into your dustbin or rinse it out in your laundry sink, and then we haven't actually solved the problem. So I remember now that was the kind of catalyst for me to talk about the competitive landscape, because this needs to be done with a high degree of care because it's a hazardous material.
Yeah, you're 100% right. And I think we probably are starting to see a few of those emerge as education and awareness grows about microfibres. So, it's super important to make sure that people understand why it's important to capture them, why it's important to take them out of the system. And yeah, I mean, it's good to see there's other companies with integrity who are, working towards the same goal. And there will always be I guess the fly-by-nights who will produce something cheap and not very good, but we have to be very consistent in what we do, believe in what we do, and just keep educating people and raising awareness.
Which you do a great job of. Let's make sure we get that across the line to get people to follow your journey and communications, because it really is, really on point. There's a real wonderful family, I suppose, of organisations similarly pursuing this increasing awareness and knowledge around microplastics, be it ocean health, environmental health, or human health. So, if you're not across it, go and learn a little bit more. But let's sort of talk about how people can actually, start or increase their journey in limiting microfiber pollution from their home. Obviously, we want them to go and purchase an Indie or whatever solution is suitable for them. What are the sort of instructions and the opportunities that you'd like to share with people who want to be proactive in limiting their footprint when it comes to microfiber pollution?
Yeah, so there's some really easy things that everybody can do right now, actually. So filling your washing machine up. So when you do a load of laundry, fill your washing machine up so that there's less friction. Wash less. That's probably at the top of my list. Wash less. Don't do your washing. My children love that. And so I think that's one of the best things you can do. Be very mindful about the detergent you use to wash your clothes. Liquid is better because, again, there's less friction, but please be mindful about what actually the ingredients are in those detergents. I tend to use a dry sheet myself, which I think is probably, in terms of carbon footprint and in terms of what's going out into the water system, is probably best. Wash your clothes inside out is another one that I've been told is very effective. So always wash your clothes inside out, and wash on a delicate wash. I think that's everything that I can think of. And obviously, fit a microfiber filter. Our Indie retrofit unit is so simple to connect to your washing machine. It's literally plug and play. I've got a 5-year-old niece, and we actually got her to do it, and she did it no problem at all. It's so simple. My 5-year-old niece can fit it. And I think it's something that everyone can do. It makes it easy for everybody to do their bit. That's what I think we offer is a really easy way for people to make a difference. Just in your laundry room.
Yeah, I really love that. I'm guilty. I don't have a filtration system yet. Most of my clothes are on the kind of natural organic fiber spectrum. I would say, gosh, very, very, very high quantity. And I do take the instructions of washing less. I found like, because I wear T-shirts mostly, there's a bunch of hemp and linen options that you can wear multiple occasions that don't have that same reaction to sweat and odor that other kind of fabrics do. So yeah, I've sort of found my little wardrobe sweet spot, and I'm sort of playing into that. But yeah, I do need to get myself a filtration system because hey, I've got to walk the talk, right?
Yeah, well, I when I come back out, I'm going to bring you one out to you. But obviously, we've got a few. We've got, as you know, some really exciting market leads in Sydney. So we'll be out again soon, and we'll bring you an indie filter. But can I just say, Tim, I forgot to say earlier, and you were talking a bit about your background and what you do, and I really want to say that actually you were part of my journey because you inspired me. You founded Take Three for the Sea, and so when I was on that journey at the beginning of Clean Seas Project and learning about all these environmental issues, Take Three for the Sea was an organisation that I followed, and so I feel like we've kind of come full circle in a way to get to this point where you've inspired me. We've gone off and done, worked on Clean Seas Project. We founded Cleaner Seas Group, and we've almost gone this full circle where we've come back to you and you've supported our startup in a really non-planned way. This is a really beautiful, organic way that's happened.
Totally. And that's why, I think I got an even bigger burst of excitement when you were recognized as the winner and I started to understand that origin story, because it is so similar to mine. It's not for a second saying that the remarkable work and the potential of non-profits and non-governmental organizations and that approach, I mean, gosh, we need more of that, and we need to continue to use those levers to create the kind of change for a better future. But maybe similar to you, and you can speak to this, I got to that point in my journey of being in the trenches as a charity trying to solve these problems, and all I was seeing was lip service from these businesses that were ultimately the culprits, and then lip service from the governments who wouldn't restrict the behaviours of the corporates. And I'm like, okay, well, if business is going to keep behaving like that, then we need these new generational change makers who are entrepreneurs that change the world. We need those businesses. So is that similar? Did you kind of have those frustrations and that spurred you into being a commercial entrepreneur, or is it a little less direct as my journey?
I think that's very similar. And I think, we were talking about the problems. And when you're, continually talking about the problems and you're doing it for a long time, that does lead you to want to create a solution, I think, from my perspective. Right now, I'm still, although I feel very hopeful and really optimistic, and I believe we will get there. We are moving forwards, and there is a shift. I still feel this huge sense of urgency because, like you say, I think governmentally, action's very slow. We're not seeing the legislation we need. In the UK, we're actually seeing a lot of backtracking on what was good policy, which is really disappointing. And I think, the governments, they need to take action now. They need to put robust policies and legislation in. As a friend of mine, Mark Shayler's written a book recently. It's called "You Can't Make Money on a Dead Planet." So I think governments have to do their bit. How we make them do that, that's people power. So being conscious consumers and telling our governmental representatives what we want, we have to be very vocal about it. And I think I still get hugely frustrated because I don't see change happening as quickly as I would like it to. But I guess that's the great thing about the private sector, as you say, is that you can start to make a difference quite quickly. And you can support the organisations that, and collaborate with the organisations that are doing that great work as well. Collaboration, that's the word, across the board. Joining up all the dots so that everybody's working together, just stronger together.
Totally. And, for me, even just from a sort of, a mental health side, being surrounded by solutionists who have this can-do attitude. Again, not to distract at all from the incredible work of people in the trenches that are fighting, but it's kind of not for everyone to always be fighting for change. And what I would say from my experience of now being in the startup sort of space for 5 years is it is a lot more positivity. Some of it might be blind positivity. You are going to have your fair share of people who claim big things but probably actually won't ever make them happen. But my gosh, if even only a small percentage do, they can change the game. And that's what keeps me inspired every day.
Yeah, 100%.
Tell us about the future, Avril. What have you got sort of planned for Cleaner Seas Group in the next year or 2 years? I'd love to sort of get a bit of a sense of where you're heading and how people can help.
So talked a little bit about scaling, so entering new territories, scaling up the business. That's have real impact as we start to do that. The more people that are removing microfibres from their laundry, the better. So we're scaling that through our domestic filter, also with our commercial filters. So there's so many different settings in terms. If you think of like cruise ships, they've got grey water going out from their ships, their laundry settings 24/7. So that's definitely a sector we're growing quite rapidly at the moment. It's really exciting and also really great. So talk about positivity, working with those cruise ship companies, how much they want to get involved and to fit the commercial filters and make a difference. That's very cool. So growing our team, that sits alongside that really. So growing an awesome team and a great culture here at Cleaner Seas Group. In 3 to 4 months, we hope to be B Corp certified. So we've been doing all the groundwork for that. That's been an ambition since we founded. So exciting to actually be doing that now, to be in a position where we can do that. That's very, very exciting. And I probably had to mention Coldplay, because they were a really game-changing moment for us, getting support from the band Coldplay. We're very aligned in the sense that they're very authentic. They've pledged to reduce their impact on the environment by 50% compared to their last world tour. They're currently on their Music of the Spheres world tour, and they've actually achieved 47%, which I think is incredible. And they've still got another couple of years of touring. And why I mention that is because last May, our commercial filters went on their tour washing machines. They've got 4 tour washing machines. And we're now able to support them in lowering their impact, because we can give them great data about how many microfibres we're catching from their machines. And so that's really wonderful. So we'll be developing that more, taking that a little bit further, doing something with that, those measurements and information. And I guess we'll be doing that across the board as well with other partners as well, such as like Ox Wash Laundries. It's really exciting to be able to give our partners and customers really a measurable difference that they're making, and be able to really show them what that looks like. And in the case of Coldplay, just really super exciting to be a part of their team. And again, it becomes a two-way street where they supported us, and now it's much more of a two-way street where we can help them achieve their goals too. So yeah, it's really exciting. Lots of exciting projects and things happening.
Not everyone can just pull out that little claim out of their hat and say, oh yeah, by the way, we're supported by Coldplay. So yeah, that's pretty darn cool.
Drop that one in.
Love it. Yeah, you almost missed it, but you pulled it out. That's very good. I was going to have to come back to that question if you didn't pull it out. All right, we're getting pretty close to the end now, Avril, but we've got some really lovely questions to sort of wrap things up. And the first one is around any of your key learnings or experience or words of wisdom that you've sort of garnered through your journey that you'd like to share with emerging entrepreneurs.
Yeah, I think some of the key things would be, and we've talked a little bit about it, is just assembling a great team. So making those great foundations at the beginning. So your close team, your board, pulling together those complementary skills. that will help you achieve your business goals. So knowing what those goals are, pulling together a team that can help you achieve that is so important. And also, just having the skills, people that have the skills to help you grow your business. So particularly if you're thinking about investment, putting together a good business plan and all those things that you need and come together. And just ensuring that you're aligned and have a shared vision. That, again, it sounds very simple, but it's so important. And not only, I guess, building that immediate team, but again, we've talked about building that sort of bigger team around you, or just having that support team. And we've been super lucky to be well supported by people and organisations and businesses that we've met along the way. And we're continuing to bring new people into our team and family. So relationships, build those relationships. Again, it's just, they're super important, and that's how we make a difference. And choose investors wisely. If you're going through rounds of investment, particularly if they might want to have a representative on the board, just thinking about alignment, but also, what can someone bring to the table? So they might have some really brilliant insights or skills. They might be able to introduce you to, new partners, new markets or territories, or, just bring some really brilliant insights, to the table that you might not have. So I think just bear that in mind when you're growing. And, for a lot of startups, these will be new skills and opportunities that you might not have experienced before. So just bearing those things in mind, I think, are really, really helpful. And collaborate is the other thing. Just keep that at the forefront of your mind.
Yeah, really heavy on the people and the fit and the culture and the team, which I think it's everything, right? It's the center of your universe. So yeah, really, really good words of advice there, Avril.
Thank you.
So I think I've got to the end of my line of questioning, but you probably came with some speaking points that maybe you haven't had a chance to touch on yet. So I would definitely like to hand the mic back over to you to touch on anything new we haven't discussed or reiterate a point. And we'll wrap things up by letting everyone know how they can follow the journey and support you guys.
I think one of the really important things, maybe just to sort of circle back to, is what the ocean does for us and why it's important to protect it. I'm surprised by the fact that a lot of the people that I speak to, I try and, okay, so here's something I think everybody can do. When we're doing the job we're doing in the environmental sector and talking and sort of speaking out to the planet, sometimes we can be speaking in an echo chamber. And I think it's really important to jump out of that space into different spaces. So I've tried to do that a little bit. And also because we're a sort of tech company, I've made it my business to go to some tech conferences and events. And it's a very different world, and the environment isn't at the forefront of what they're doing at all. And it's really interesting to step into those spaces. All those people are really, really receptive and really interested to learn about what we're doing. I would say 95 or more % of those people that I've spoken to don't know that 50 to 80% of the oxygen we need on the planet comes from the ocean. And I find that really incredible. Why don't we all know that? I mean, and I think if you know that, once you realise how important the ocean is to our health, our well-being, and the well-being of the planet, you're going to have it at the forefront of your mind, aren't you? I don't know if you've experienced that, but I find that absolutely remarkable. So I'm making that my mission. I know lots of other people are too, to try and get that message out there.
I just had like an idea of, maybe if you're kind of skilled in the ocean space, you don't need it. But imagine if we could, put little palm cards or speaking cards in the hands of those people. And, when they're in that space and that forum and they sense that people around them don't have that relationship with the ocean, don't have any ocean literacy, you just pull out a little card and go, did you know that the ocean, and that's going to land with that person, and it's going to stay with them, because once you know this stuff about how central the ocean is to everything, it's very hard to unknow it. That's why we love being provocative and saying it's planet ocean, not planet Earth, everyone. Come on, put your blue lens on. It's all blue.
So true. And actually, on that note, so what I've started doing is I've borrowed something from Wallace J. Nichols and my friend Lizzie, who is a ocean advocate. She's based in Cornwall. She's a Blue Mind coach, and she gave me a blue marble. And the blue marble represents our blue planet. And I took blue marbles with me. So when I went to all these different events where I was kind of stepping out of our normal space, I took blue marbles with me. And at the end of every conversation, I gave whoever I was talking to a blue marble to remind them that we live on a blue planet. And when you give this to people, you remind them that everybody you know and love lives here on this. I'm just pretending I'm holding a blue marble because I don't have one on me. But everybody we know and love lives here, and it's our responsibility to protect it. And you pass it on to them from your heart, from your eyes and your hands, and you ask them to pass it on to somebody else. It's a really beautiful thing. And everybody that I've given a blue marble to is so touched that you can see them visibly. Wow. In spaces where I wouldn't expect that to happen. It's really exciting. It's really cool to be in maybe a more sort of corporate, techie or banking space and to have that effect. Everybody said, I'm going to pass that on to my friend. It's always a loved one, my brother, my son, my daughter, my wife, my mother, my friend. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. So yeah, Wallace J. Nichols, Blue Mind. It's come from that place, and I highly recommend that everybody has a little look at that. And you can, obviously in Australia, you want to get your blue marbles from somewhere else. In the UK, my friend Lizzie, who's based in Cornwall, actually sells them to raise money. She looks after seals in Cornwall, so she uses it to raise money for looking at the seals. Win-win-win.
So cool. Yeah, we had Wallace J on the podcast back in the very early days. Must be like around episode 6 or something. And yeah, he's definitely moved me a lot, and he's touched a lot of people, as has his wonderful gesture that you just shared so beautifully. So thank you for that. I think this is a beautiful way to wrap up a wonderful conversation. And it's the end of our conversation today, but it's most certainly just the beginning of our relationship together. I think all the authenticity and integrity that you and the team at Cleaner Seas Group bring is, aside from the remarkable tech that you've generated and created, and thanks Crazy James for bringing that to the world, but the people are really the special sauce. And yeah, really, really love your work, and so nice to have you in the family.
Oh, well, right back at you. We love what you do, and thanks so much for your support and for inviting us to be part of your podcast as well. It's so nice to chat to you.
Cool. Any last sort of comments around people, how they can follow the journey? It's probably pretty straightforward. Just search, follow, all that good stuff.
Absolutely. Our website, so cleaner-seas.com. You'll find all our social channels on there. Do come say hi on our social channels. We like to engage with people. We like to hear what other people are doing. If you've got ideas about collaboration or partnership, drop us a line. We'd love to hear from you. If you want to connect with me, LinkedIn, or any of other members of the team, we're all on LinkedIn, and we're always happy to have a chat. So yeah, do get in touch, and we'd love to collaborate.
Thanks so much, Avril. Pass on our regards to the whole team, and we'll talk soon.
I will do. Thanks so much.
Can't take the ocean out of